Okay, participants of AUN-QA International Conference, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the lunch just now and now refreshed and full of energy to proceed with our next item in the program. As was announced by Dr. Elsa just now, we will have the breakout sessions now, parallel interactive workshops, and at this particular hall we will have or we conduct a program on ASEAN University Network Qualification Excellence, or AUN-QEX. Let me read brief description of the session before I invite two speakers for this session. Okay, so this session explores how the AUN-QEX framework empowers higher education institutions to build robust academic immune systems by focusing on future-ready, internationally comparable, and sustainably delivered degree programs. Institutions can enhance their adaptive capacity, advance qualifications excellence, and boost student mobility, thereby fortifying their global relevance and long-term resilience. The speaker for this session will be Professor Dr. Richard R. Juger, Director of Educational Practices, Instruction and Curriculum Development Office at University of San Carlos and Special Advisor to the AUN Executive Director on Qualification Frameworks, Systems and Management. And our second speaker is Professor Dr. Muhammad Saiful Bahri bin Yusof, Universiti Putra Malaysia Special Advisor to AUN Executive Director on Qualifications, Framework, Systems and Management. So to both gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Hello? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry about that. So we will start today's session by going through four different types of talks. We will start first by introducing, it's actually pronounced as AUN-QX. So AUN-QX is one of the new initiatives of the ASEAN University Network. Before we begin, would you like to look at your neighbor first and greet him or her a good afternoon? Yeah? Give one compliment. Just give one compliment. You look good today or anything like that. I want you to qualify the good afternoon. Okay. So the ASEAN University Network, through its new initiative, ASEAN University Network Qualification Excellence, if you can see on the screen, This is actually a derivative of two Erasmus projects that spans from 2016 to 2024. So the first project is called the TASE project. It's Tuning Asia Southeast project, 2016 to 2019. And then the second one is the Kalohea project. Kalohea stands for Measuring the Learning Outcomes of Higher Education in Asia, measuring and comparing learning outcomes. So the main output of the first project is that we were able to map both generic and subject specific competencies in Southeast Asia. So we have three disciplines that we considered. We have medicine, civil engineering, and teacher education. And then for the Kalohea part, the main output of that is we are able to have three recognition mechanisms. So we have recognition mechanism in terms of a regional reference framework for the discipline. The second one is the installation of student workload. And the third one is on authentic assessment. So one of the goals or one of the things that we want is that as much as possible, we would like our degrees to be equivalent, to be compatible, to be transferable, to be portable, and so on and so forth. The thing is, it's quite difficult because at this point in time, most of our arrangements are bilateral in nature, meaning to say we sit down, we have meetings, and we talk about things, how to align our degrees. So this qualification excellence initiative is anchored on three very important recognition mechanisms, as I was saying. So the first one is we're looking at the development of KSRs and authentic assessment. Dr. Saiful will talk about this in detail, and we will have a bit of an exercise on this one too. And later on, I will be back to talk about student workload measurement and standardization in our curricula. Combining these three recognition mechanisms of KSR, authentic assessment, and student workload measurement, we will be able to establish a comparable credit system as well as verification of what our students are capable of in terms of outcomes and the way these outcomes are assessed so that we don't have to keep on doing everything from scratch every time we want to compare or every time we want to mobilize student from one program to from one uni to another uni of the same program. So we're talking about transformation of curriculum design, preparation of students in the workforce, alignment of actual workplace demands, and the management of student workload. So we will talk about this in a few minutes. So these are the main trainers for AUN-QX. So we have Professor Farhan, and we have Professor Saiful. Uh, Professor Maria is from the University of Groningen, and me. And we had our first run last June this year, June 25 to 27 in Bangkok. And these are there are around 30 plus participants from different universities. And today we will give you a glimpse of what those trainings are for and what are the contents of those trainings so that should you decide to be a part of AUN-QX, then we will have another run probably on March this year, so you can join us. All right, so at this point in time, I'll give you to Professor Saiful to give us an input on KSR and authentic assessment.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Jack. Now we are in the first part, and then I'm going to give you something. Make sure that you have at least 3 people per group. At least 3 person per group. If you are alone, please find someone. All right. If you are alone, find someone so that you can complete that you are at least 3 person per group. Can you do it now? 1 minute. Oh, how I wish it's a wireless, easier for me to move. All right. All right. If you are alone, find a friend so that you can form a group of 3 at least. All right. Come, come, come. Over there. All right. So 3, 4, that's okay. That's good. So still, you have to, you can join maybe, split yourself, or maybe you can join at the back. All right, so let's see whether the first criteria has been fulfilled or not. Per group, at least 3. Hmm. Huh. All right, so I guess, yeah, all table have at least 3 people. All right, so can you click next chat? All right, so now these are very common to everyone. Am I right? So usually we have cognitive, we have psychomotor, and then we have affective. I think there's a Bloom taxonomy. I think this very, very common to everyone across the world. But what we are going to share you now is the next one, which is the knowledge, skills, and responsibility. Why? Because I think whatever knowledge which we have, or maybe whatever knowledge we teach students, must be able to help them to fulfill their duties or maybe their responsibility later on. Similar goes to skill. Whatever skill we give to the students, we must ensure that the skills are backed up by the knowledge, and that knowledge will back up responsibility that they will carry out when they become someone in the field. So basically, if you are looking at this KSR, so basically when we design our learning outcome, we must think about the responsibility of the students when they graduated from our program, what are they are going to do in their professional or maybe any other fields that they are in charge in the future, right? And that next one, and the biggest challenge in our education right now is the domains of responsibility. The knowledge scale, usually, yes, we know what to teach them in terms of knowledge. We know what to give them in terms of skill. But how that knowledge and skill relevant, applicable, and useful in terms of their future responsibility, that is something, all right, so basically, this is something that we are very much emphasize when it comes to the AUN-QX framework. Next up, all right, now let's put it in, I call it as a growth of competency. All right, so basically we start with knowledge, the theoretical part, the skill, and whatever the knowledge and skill should be able to support their roles in the future to become competent practitioner. And later on, hopefully we develop into full professional who are competent enough in their own responsibility. All right, so these are the fundamental when it comes to the program design. All right. Just I would like to hands up your maybe who here when you design your program you are thinking about the responsibility of your graduate when they are in the field. Just raise your hand. No worry, no worry. We're just sharing. No, when you formulate your learning outcome and then you design the program, the curriculum, at your back end is basically how much relevance, useful, and applicable of the knowledge and skill to their future responsibility. Raise your hand. That's very good. All right. Well done. All right. But how far you tap into the responsibility and then how that you make sense of responsibility when it comes to the delivery of the knowledge and skill in the real practice. Okay, next. All right. So, okay. During the training, I think I'm going to go shortcut because we don't have much time. It's about 75 minutes and covering the at least 3 days workshop. Now, I'm giving you a template. Come, let's go to the template. Can you click? All right. So, this is the KSR LO formulation tool. All right. So, basically, this is something we call it identified expected learning outcome, or sometimes we call it identified competency, if you wish to say that. And then what will be the knowledge related to that competency? And then what will be the learning outcome related to skill in that competency, and what kind of responsibility that you want to formulate that reflects and demonstrate the responsibility in that particular domain. Okay, now let's give some example for you to exercise. All right, so let's say I'm giving you something that I believe across the board. Okay, this one, professional values, lifelong learning skill, and communication skill. Now, I would like to discuss within your table. You choose one of the competency from three, decide which one, and then try to reflect on your own practice right now. Okay, how will you define your LO in terms of knowledge in that sense, skills, and especially I would like to emphasize on responsibility. How will you write your learning outcome in terms of responsibility when it comes to that selected competency? All right, I do not have much time. I give you 5 minutes, just a brief one. Okay, decide in the group which competency that you want to exercise, and then focus on responsibility. So, and coin a statement of learning outcome in relation to competency for the responsibility. And the definition is to put over there. All right, ultimate roles of a graduate to perform as a professional in the field with knowledge and skill. All right, can you, I give them 5 minutes, chat. I think it should be enough. 5 minutes, I'm going to put a timer. My timer, not your timer, all right? So my timer, because you might take it longer, all right, so I'm going to start timer, 5 minutes, all right? State anything that you like, as long as a learning outcome related to the responsibility for that particular selected ELO, all right? Professional values, lifelong learning skill, or communication skill. All right, so ready, guys? Thank you so much. Finally. Finally I can move. All right, so I'm going to move and I want to see you. So 5 minutes begin. All right. Responsibility LO for that particular competency. Yes, just one, select one. Out of three, just select one and then focus on responsibility. I know knowledge and skills quite easy, but focus on responsibility, learning outcomes. Too big for mini workshop. All right. Which one you select? Oh, still. Oh, finish already. All right, that's very good. Do for 5 minutes. Oh, all right. So carry on, carry on. No problem. Just checking. Oh, all right. Something else. Okay, 1 more minute. Then I'm going to pick up one random group to share. All right. All right. Just focus on responsibility. All right. Ah, looks good. It's okay. Sounds good. All right. So, all right. So, okay. So, any group like to share, maybe one or two group. So maybe I choose. Ah, yes, that's group. Come. You focus on the responsibility. How you coin your LO for responsibility.
Yeah. Here. Okay. So good. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Palti Hap from the Royal University of Law and Economics, Phnom Penh, Cambodia. I choose number one, professional value of our group, and then with regard to the knowledge, we want our graduate to demonstrate the understanding of the basis of writing contract. This is law, yeah. And for the skill, the graduate write a contract legally. And for the responsibilities, it means our graduate can make contract of private ownership which does not belong to public property. For example, if someone want to sell the state property and then asking our graduate to write a contract to sell the state property, they say, no, no, this is not, it's not legal. So this is their responsibility. They apply the knowledge and then they help the society. Thank you.
Thank you. We have an example for professional value. That sounds good to me. Any group focus on lifelong learning skill? Anyone? Lifelong skill? Oh, yes. Oh, all right. How about the other side? Anyone volunteer? Okay. Let me give to that one first, all right? Is it lifelong skill? Lifelong? All right. Oh, communication. Okay, we reserve for you lifelong learning skill, all right?
Okay, good afternoon, and I'd like to share the application of the KSRLO formulation for a specific course that I'm handling now, and that's criminology data analysis. So for knowledge, we have identified knowledge of the specific information needs and literacy levels of different stakeholders in the criminal justice system, such as police commanders, police makers, court officials, and the like. For skills, the skills to translate complex statistical findings into clear, actionable intelligence reports, visualizations such as dashboards for non-technical audiences. And then for responsibility, responsibility to ensure all data-driven reports and presentations are accurate, unambiguous, and structured to support informed decision-making in policy-making.
Thank you so much. Last example, we have very limited time. Otherwise, we can open up more people to talk. Yes, the lifelong learning skills. Yes. Go ahead.
Hi, we focused on responsibility and then for lifelong learning to develop students who are who are interested, curious, and passionate in learning.
Okay, thank you so much to the groups who volunteered to share. So because of time, so next slide, Shah. Here is an example from the medicine, right? There's an example for the medicines. If you are looking at the responsibility, uphold professional values in decision-making, interaction, relationship. That's kind of, I think more or less similar with your group just now. And then engage in ongoing professional development, seek feedback, and adapt to evolving healthcare practices. There's something expected from a doctor. And last but not least is about communication skill. Actively listen, convey information clearly, adapt communication to diverse healthcare situations. So I think these are examples, your examples and our examples, but the most important thing is next chapter. Where next and next. Two next. Okay? Next. All right? Basically, we are referring to certain standard. That's very important. And your standards belong to your field. Just like mine, from the professional body, related to core competency expected from a junior doctor, as well as from the expected responsibility list from the Ministry of Health. I believe whatever the responsibility that you want to put, it must be aligned with the future roles of our graduates. That's it. All right? No question. All right? So we will for Q&A at the end, after Chuck. All right? So Chuck, next one. All right, so now, the second thing is, whenever we have formulated the KSR learning outcomes, how are we going to measure the learning outcome? Because every learning outcome stated and being promised in the curriculum must be explicitly measured in anyhow. Either it's quantitative approach or qualitative approach. Doesn't matter. So how to do it? So the next chapter is about how are we going to measure what really matters. Next one, Jack. All right. Yes. Go ahead. Okay, now we are going to talk more toward authentic assessment because when the learning outcomes level increase from knowledge, skills, and responsibility, the more authentic the assessment should be because they are going to put the students in the real world setting. All right? So now, I would like to ask you a simple question. You can scan the QR code or maybe you can join through slido.com and put the password. And please do answer honestly. How familiar are you with the authentic assessment term? Yeah, 1 minute. Let's see. Is it new term? Sounds familiar, and can explain it, practice it, and can give example. Is it workable, the QR code? Can you scan? All right. Huh? Huh? No? Wait. Wait, Technical problem. Okay, Chuck. It's supposed to show the percentage, right? Yes. It's supposed to show. Wait. Check. Please wait for a while, and you can rest for a while. Oh, there is no internet connection. No wonder. Wait, Is it this one? All right. Okay. Good. Okay, so it's connected already. Oh, sorry for that. It was not connected. Connection loss. Eh? It keeps on going away. The Wi-Fi. That's okay. Let me use the personal one. Okay, I'm going to use personal Wi-Fi, right? Okay, let's try again. Wait, Now, can you scan and respond? Is it workable? Now, okay? All right, let's see. Is it workable?
This is real time now. Yeah.
All right. So, oh, it's already 40. All right. So, sound familiar? All right. Okay, I give you 1 minute. Right, keep coming. Sound familiar, new term, practice it. Familiar and can explain. Right. I'm going to choose a lucky guy and lucky girl afterward in random and try to explain in your own word what is authentic assessment. Right? So, but before that, let's see how many will respond. Okay. Anyone else? So 92 already. Anyone else like to give your response? Right. I guess that will be the final one. All right, so let's look at the pool. So basically, most of you, majority of you, almost more than 70%, basically is a new term or sounds familiar. All right, new term and sounds familiar. And there are significant percentage. I would say that you are very familiar. If I ask you now, you can explain. And if no, certain of you, if I ask you example, you can give example. All right, now, anyone who can explain and give example? I do not know because anonymous. Anyone volunteer? That yes, I practice this and I can give example. All right, so go ahead. There you go.
Thank you very much. The authentic assessment is the kind of assessment that allows students to connect their learning to real life. Having said that, the activities that they are undergoing, they are doing, they are completing, need to be connected to the real world problem. So connecting them to community or to any like site visit, field work, things like that. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much. Maybe I would like to get, otherwise it's gender bias, isn't it? So any other gender, which is female, female, any female, you like to share your thoughts when we talk about authentic assessment? What is it? And you are willing to give example. Anyone? Any female? Hello, females. I'm sure there is female over here. Oh, you want to give example? All right, so go ahead. Ah, ah, there, at the back. Yes. All right.
Good afternoon. My understanding about authentic assessment is these are activities that we are giving to our students. And through these activities, we are able to measure the outcomes. Like, for example, I'm coming from the Department of Nursing. So one specific example that I can give is by asking your students to perform, or we're calling that as graded return demonstration of the skills that you want them to manifest. Thank
On
you.
the real patient, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's all for example, all right? We have limited time. Chuck, can you go to the next one? All right. Design and assessment. Next, three next. Chuck. 1, 2, 3. All right. So when it comes to authentic assessment, there are three key principles. One, if you are looking at the knowledge, the students or the learner should be able and should be allowed to demonstrate that knowledge in the real life context. Just like our colleague mentioned just now. Similar goes to the skills. We allow students to demonstrate the skills in the real life context as well. However, the responsibility, this is something the area that we might want to improve. Because when it comes to responsibility, definitely we have to allow the students to perform in real context that related to the future roles. Got it? All right, so simple. Next one, Chuck. And this is something that what we did in AUN-QA, basically we call it as diagnostic tool for authentic assessment. Basically, if you go through one by one, you can actually look at any specific assessment that you are practicing right now, where are their authenticity. Because when it comes to the authenticity, it's not about not authentic and authentic. It's about the continuum to be more authentic. It means that if you want to do something in terms of assessment, we are trying our best to make the assessment more authentic for the sake of the graduate's future competency. All right? I'm not going to ask you to rate one by one because of the limited time. I'm just sharing. You can scan, you can do whatever, and try to do your self-rating on any assessment that you think authentic, but rate it whether is it really authentic or needs further improvement in terms of the authenticity. All right, I leave it here. If we have time, we can practice actually, but never mind. We have lack of time. Okay, next one. All right, so there are two things that I would like you to look at most of the time when it comes to authentic assessment. That's from the designer perspective. Designer, who are designer? We, the academician, the lecturer, the teacher. Because we think that this is authentic for students. But when it comes to authenticity in assessment, it's about how students experience the assessment, whether they feel authentic or not authentic. Different, Sometimes, for example, let me give you an example. If you write a scenario based on the real life case, as a designer, we feel, oh, this is authentic. But for the student doesn't feel authentic. Because just a written case for them to be assessed. But in terms of authenticity, yes, but there's a certain level of authenticity. But when it comes to the student perspective, the student don't feel it as authentic because they do not put in their real life situation. So to improve that, we really need to make them, in the real life situation and judge their performance based on that. That will be more authentic. All right, so it's about authentic assessment, and authenticity in assessment is different perspective. Next one. So putting together, next, all right. When we talk about authentic assessment, usually is teacher perspective. But when it comes to authenticity assessment, there's a student perspective, whether are they feeling meaning in the task that they are being assessed. All right? So be careful with that. That's why in the IQA, we always get feedback from the students. Because from the feedback, we can improve the authenticity of our assessment. All right, so let's Q&A will be at the end. The next one, Chuck. All right, so, and we did, actually we share as well a kind of steps for us to redesign our assessment to make it better in terms of authenticity. This is a list actually, but I can give you examples from what we have done before. To do it now is a bit taxing in terms of time because you need more time. But let me give you an example. Next, yeah. Example from marketing cost. All right, so basically the initial one is about essay. It's very not that authentic, but maybe from the perspective of lecturer will be authentic. But how that marketing costs teachers transform the not so authentic essay into something more authentic. For example here, it's changed to the new task, they call it client strategic report. Still essay writing, but now the task is becoming more real, world related. So as simple as that. But the first thing we need to know, what is the current situation of our assessment, whether it's authentic or less authentic, or you need more authenticity. But when we redesign, we want to make whatever task given to our students to be more real world related so that the authenticity of our assessment become better. So this example, actually you can snap whatsoever, but what I'm saying that if we think properly, when it comes to the design of assessment, we can transform or maybe we can redesign whatever less authentic assessment to become more authentic assessment as long as we're trying to infuse the elements of authentic principles into the assessment. Got it? Is there any more slide for me, Steph? I'm tired already. All right, so, and this is something that I already mentioned verbally, but visually, what I meant by that, when you go through the knowledge, skill, and responsibility, the authenticity will be higher. So next chart. All right, higher. So that's why, you need time for that, right? When the authenticity becoming higher, it means that your learning outcome become more real world related. When it comes to that, there is need for the student workload, the time. Because time actually is learning opportunities for students to develop those competency from knowledge, skill, until responsibility. The higher you go, the more times is required for students to embrace and to groom. That's why student workload become the next one. All right, so this is an example of the authentic assessment. Just examples. I'd like to highlight within 5 minutes the entrustable professional activities in which I believe every of you might be interested. All right, we call it entrustable professional activities, keeping at the responsibility level. So next one. So basically, this is coming from Netherlands. Okay, from Oletin Kate, is actually as a unit of professional practice, a task or responsibility we give to the students. All right, and then based on the standard, this example standard that we refer to, for example, professionalism, there are certain level of responsibility for any graduates from the program. And next one, So we actually need to define a task or responsibility for that particular levels based on, we call it EPA. For example, here, kita defend patient dignity, modesty, and comfort. That's a responsibility. All right? And the second, practice self-reflection. No. All right, for lifelong learning, that is also responsibility. Communicate effectively to patient and colleague. Maintain patient confidentiality and interest. If you notice, there are level L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. So if the student at L1, L2, based on your expert judgment observation, they are not yet competent. It means that they are not ready to hold the responsibility yet. But if they go to L3, whereby the students are able to acting with indirect supervision, it means that they can do and perform that responsibility without so much supervision. Then the is considered competent. This is the simplest assessment that I have seen and easily embedded and infused in any field. All right, so I'm not going to that, but that's an example. And for example, EPA is about respect, responsibility, and then the mapping, and so on and so forth. Next one, Chuck. I'm tired. Chuck? I think your turn.
Okay, thank you very much,
Thank
Dr.
you so much.
Saiful.
So leave it to Chuck.
All right, so to continue on, we talked about responsibility-based outcome development as well as authentic assessment. This time, we would like everybody to be conscious in regulating student workload when we ask our students to do things so that, our students don't die early and the teachers also will not die early. So it is important to understand the concept of student workload because it actually governs how we proceed towards curricular implementation. So in Southeast Asia, we are quite heavy in terms of student workload. It's gone now, so how do we put it back? We need to put it back.
Let me help you, Chuck, with the clicker.
It's back.
You go back.
All right, thank you. So this one is, we just want to make everybody understand that because there are specific programs that we offer in our uni, for instance, and that in ASEAN, generally speaking, we follow the outcomes-based education framework. What happens is that we want to be different. We want to have an identity, which is fine. We want to make sure that our graduate has an identity that is akin to the university where that person is coming from. So the thing is, we keep on adding things to our curriculum. That's not inherently bad. It becomes inherently bad if we set the expectation extremely high without consideration of the available time resource on the part of our students. So as you can see, increased number of courses from minimum to optimum to maximum, however you want it, it expands the number of outcomes. And for every outcome that we develop, it will necessitate a vehicle of implementation and attainment, which comes in the form of courses. And in each of the course comes the associated time that students need to spend so that they can demonstrate or attain the outcome. And it compounds these number of outcomes. So it is actually reasonable for us to create programs that are really good or extensive. But we should not forget that there is a constraint that will be the same regardless of the aspirations that we have, and that is time. So this is the major foundation of understanding the concept of student workload culture measurement in terms of higher education. And this is one of the key recognition mechanism for internationalization because student workload is considered as the currency of internationalization. We count the number of hours our students spend, and these number of hours should not just be extensive, but it should be well rationalized and at the same time it should be optimized. So if we go to the next slide, I'll give you a very short experiment. I want you to talk with your lovely neighbors in your own table. I want you to go back to your own university. This is the first exercise that we do. This is activity 0, actually, in AUN-QX. I want you to envision your typical higher education student in your own university or institution. When we talk about typical students, I'm talking about the regular one, the baseline student in your uni, not the student who is doing very, very well, not the student who is still on his way to doing very well, but the normatively typical student in your university. I want you to imagine them, and I want you to talk to your neighbor probably for a minute or two. Describe your typical student in terms of the developmentally speaking, in terms of their social their social profile, in terms of their economic profile, and in terms of their cultural profile. Imagine your typical student in your uni and describe it to your neighbor for 1 to 2 minutes. You can start describing now. So we forced ourselves to imagine our typical students. 1 to 2 minutes. Where do they come from? How do they look like? How old are they? Do they have laptops? Do they have internet connections? Do they have ample spaces? Do they live near the uni? Do they study far from uni? Do they have good social support? Do they have good household support? 1 minute. It's okay to make noise. All right, that's 1 minute up. So don't worry, I will not ask you to share at this point in time what is your typical student, because it's quite, I won't be very privy as to your institutional profile, because we would be coming from very different kinds of institutions. Some of our institutions, for all we know, might be mission universities. Some might be national universities, some might be private HEIs, among others. So it's all right. At least I just want you to make sure that you do have a good understanding and picture of what a typical student would look like. So that later on, when we talk about workload, we will not be talking about exceptional students. We will not also be talking about very underprivileged students. We will be basing our computations and assumptions on a typical higher education student in your university. So this is the grounding assumption of workload. In the next exercise, this time I will ask 1 or 2 tables to share. So this is just an example. This assessment does not mean that this is authentic, but I'm giving this because this is the easiest to sort of recall for the different disciplines. So sometimes we're asking students to make synthesis papers. For example, we would like to tell students, okay, read some refereed publications, and I want you to synthesize For instance, what is happening about SDG number 4 specific to this country or something like that. So this is a very typical higher education requirement. And I want you to talk with your neighbor in your own table for 1 to 2 minutes. And I want you to tell me, what will the students generally do if I am the student and you are the teacher and this is your instruction to me? What do you expect me to do as a student? As a starting point, what do you want me to do? What do I go to the library first? Do I just go home and open the computer and search the internet? So I want you to combine the typical image of your higher education student and tell me, what do you expect the student will do so that they can give you a satisfactory outcome? Not a very summa cum laude outcome, not the failing outcome, but a passing outcome, a passing mark. 1 to 2 minutes, talk with your neighbor. What do you expect your students to do when you ask them to do this? All right, so let's ask people. I actually volunteered forcibly 2 tables, but they said yes. So, yes, please identify.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. I'm Natra from Institute Utara Malaysia. Okay, if this is the assignment given to students, we expect the students, of course, to first find the authentic sources, read thoroughly, and do the synthesis. That is what we expect. But with the current technology, I believe they will first go to the ChatGPT or any AI tools, and then write, and then synthesize for them. And then they will just submit, perhaps.
Perhaps. All right, so that's a good one. Let's hear from this table.
Okay, right. So for our team, we discussed that we going to give the student the authentic topics, and then the student they have to find themselves to read the relevant material and series, and the final task we going to ask them to write a papers. Yeah, that's all from us. Yeah.
So we actually ask academics about these things, and we do have data to show you what a typical academic would expect students to do if we give them an assignment. This is just one of the exercises that we do for AUN-QX. There are two more, but because we're just trying out sometimes. So we'll just do one exercise. So in the next slide, on the left side of the screen, these are the assumed processes by academics on what students would do if we ask them to create a synthesis paper. AI or no AI, this is what we expect them to do. So first they would search, then they would organize, then they would read, and they would write. These are the basic things that we always get as a response from academics. In the real world, if we imagine the typical higher education student, and if we have good guidelines with respect to the utilization of AI in academic writing, this is not as simple as it would be in the actual world. Student would search, they would select on what they search. Even if you use DeepSeek or in ChatGPT, it might not be a good thing. And students are realizing now that ChatGPT could give you really bad hallucinations in terms of making things up of sources. And then after that, they would organize. Then, typically speaking, student would still have to evaluate whether to include or not to include an article and so on and so forth. Then they will read, then they will try to understand, then they will try to write. Sometimes when they write 5, backspace 3 equals 2. So it takes time for them to write. And if you divide and subdivide these different processes, what happens is we either overestimate the amount of workload, or in most cases, academic would underestimate the amount of workload. I am not even including socioeconomic status, presence of university-based resources, household conditions of the student, connectivity of the students, and availability of resources. So if we look at these things, you would see that student workload is actually very variable depending on the task that we're asking students to do. That's the reason why it is important to imagine the typical student as well as document the workload associated with our requirements. So in the next slide, this is how we visualize students' workload most of the time. The results of the TASE and the Kalohea project has informed us that there is a tendency for academics to actually underestimate and for students to overestimate workload. But there are also instances where teachers would overestimate workload because they don't consider AI. So AI is actually one of the most probably mediating variables that allow the disparity of estimation. So meaning to say, teachers cannot say no to AI. It is important that we understand the extent of their presence, applicability, and how students use it, so that you and I, students and us, would have some sort of a common ground in estimating workload measurements. Because you might assign 60 hours for a task that is currently doable in 15. Or sometimes you assume that the task is 20, but the task is actually 50. So something like that. In AUN-QX, we do have extant available tools for workload estimation and workload regulation, if you so desire to know more about how to document workload in your curriculum. So if you look at it, workload is a combination of both contact and non-contact hours that we ask our students to do. And typically speaking, around the world, 1 credit has an equivalent of around 40 hours. You can go as high as 45 to 47, depending on which country you're coming from. But the world average is around 40 hours. In ECT, in the European Credit and Transfer System, depending on which country you're coming from, it could range from 25 to 30. So, meaning to say, if we do have a good understanding on the amount of workload that students do to complete a curriculum, it is one of the good recognition mechanisms for equivalency. So that when we look at our respective transcripts, we can actually identify how much time did the students spend on that particular program. So these are the things that we would like also to highlight, because sometimes teachers also give a lot of things. We, we give a lot of assignments to students. So it is important that we consider this, because for all we know, we might be giving too many workload on compared to the credit that the student gets. So sometimes a 3-credit course has a workload of a 5-credit course. And nobody questions that if we do not reflect and if we do not have the tools on measuring it. Sometimes also the other way is true. Sometimes we would say, but the students have to learn A, B, C, D, E, F, G in my course. I need to finish A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Probably, there is also a need for you to consider the credit of that course. Maybe you don't have to adjust your workload. It's really necessary. But you have to reflect the amount of credit for that course you're saying that you need to finish. So it's like a two-way street. So if there's a set credit, you adjust your workload. But if you think that the workload is sufficient, therefore, you need to revisit if indeed the credit was appropriate in the first place. So it's not just a one-way street. So these are the things that we try to see and talk about in workload-based curriculum planning and implementation if we do AUN-QX. So what's the advantage of auditing workload and ensuring that workload is actually okay? In my institution, we tried to run workload, and there is a program in my university that gives up to 110 hours a week. That's a lot of hours. 110 hours a week. If we look at literature, we should not go beyond 60. Ideally, it should be around 45 hours a week. It's actually a lot better if we can stick to 40. Because when they go to the world of work, right? If you go to Melbourne in Australia, you would see a statue there. That's where the 8 hours a day ruling of work comes from. So we are actually asking too much from our students most of the time. Most of the time. So instructional specificity, if you become conscious of student workload, it allows teachers to remove unnecessary things. In education literature, we call it busy work. If you look at busy, there's actually an educational construct called busy work. It's the work that we give students to if we don't want to teach. Or these are works that are not directly tethered to the outcomes that we're trying to develop or assess. So we become very specific in terms of what we want the students to do. The second one is, of course, learners' well-being. So we keep on saying that the family is not working, that the smallest unit of society is disintegrating. We need to also tell ourselves the reason why that happens is because we keep on giving assignments and homeworks during weekends. Students are supposed to sit with their moms and their dads and their siblings, have a good meal, but where are they? Well, they're making assignments. So if the teacher has, if the teacher sometimes has no life, then students have also no life. Because we want them to share our passion and so on and so forth. So student workload gives us an idea in terms of transparency of learning targets. So students now will not have the right to complain that they are doing so much, because we would like to regulate it that they will still be healthy and capable upon graduation. There are many disciplines that they graduate but they sort of are unhealthy. And it is not a good thing when we say that, oh, we made it during our time. That's not a very good philosophy. We are supposed to recreate a better world for others in return, not to make them suffer like what we did. So that's not a good way to do it. On the part of internationalization, mobility, and portability of degrees, if we can understand and apply student workload measurement in our curricula, regardless of the program, then it's easy to assess for its equivalency in other countries, not just in ASEAN, among ourselves, but it could also speak to other frameworks in the world. It's easy to convert to ECTS. It's easy to convert to CLAR if you want to go to Latin America, for example. It's easy to go with the Arab credit system because everything is measured generally in terms of student workload. So these are the affordances if we measure student workload in the process. So I'll give Saiful back.
Both of us.
Both of us.
Don't run away, eh?
We
Right,
don't
so
have,
anything that you like to ask?
would you like to ask us anything about any of those 3 recognition mechanisms?
We have 10 more minutes given by the organizer. Anything that you like to ask?
Or you might have questions about AUN-QX. What?
Or maybe you want to share your opinion.
Yeah, anything would do.
Anything, come.
You stay on the left, I'll stay on the right side.
10 minutes we have. Anyone?
Curious, all right. Just know about the student workload, okay. In our country, we have got student learning time. Is it similar to student learning time, whereby let's say you give the assignment for 3 credits, you have to calculate actually what the effective hours that student have to spend for the 3 credits. Is it similar to this?
Yes, it is. For Malaysia, yes, we have student learning time. But Chad, you can share your experience?
Yes, in Malaysia actually has a good model of student workload measurement. It's in terms of student learning time, where students are given time to learn the material and study on their own. That is not actually true to other countries or to some other ASEAN neighbors. So what happens is, if we do allocate and consider both contact and non-contact time as a regional understanding, it's easier for us to assign credit equivalency. At this point in time, if Malaysia does it and Philippines does not do it, not gonna work in terms of transferability and portability of decree. So Malaysia is a good model in terms of student learning time measurement. Yes, bro.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. When you look at time, when you consider time as a currency, okay, you have dollars as a currency, but it depends on which kind of dollars you're talking about. US dollars, New Zealand dollars, Singapore dollars, and everything. So I guess probably we could not really put time as a time itself. Like not that this like 1 hour is not that 60 minutes. You mentioned earlier about learning time, but I guess probably when you look at the students, depending on their stage, sometimes when they become more mature, learn more, they could basically do a lot of things faster. Okay, so for example, the amount of work by first-year students could be different with 1 hour of work for like second-year student or third-year student, etc. So I'm just wondering if you look at time is just time, it probably would not be effective because again, we call it what working time would be very different. Just like we mentioned that 8 hours working, it could means differently from different people. Okay, those who do physical works end up 8 hours got tired. Okay, but the other line of works, you have like 8 hours works and probably you feel happy about that. Okay, thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Prof. That's exactly the reason why we cannot only rely on workload measurement as the sole basis of the recognition mechanisms. That is also the reason why, as much as I'm passionate about workload, we should be as passionate in terms of KSR and authentic assessment, because collectively they would give us a better picture. I do understand, Prof, that, and you are actually right, that we cannot put it solely based on time. We need really to consider outcome attainment and outcome assessment as well. That's why there are three combined together.
That's why there is a term, we call it effective learning time. Because effective learning time doesn't really equal to 100% of that 1 hour is effective. You know? So this is something that the term that we use, and if you're looking at the time that we focus, is basically the time spent by students to achieve the learning outcome, not anything. You mean that they spend that time to achieve purposely for that learning outcome. So I think you are rightly mentioned about that, yes, but we need to have a kind of equivalence so that we can talk to each other, just like currency just now. You know, your rate is maybe 4.2, my one is 1.2, but at the end of the day, we come up with certain that acceptable currency that we can transfer to each other. We can mobilize our economic, for example, our higher education, so that we can move together as a region. Thank you, Prof. Yeah, Prof. Hamzah, go ahead.
So the notional hours, like we have here in Malaysia, one credit is equal 40 hours, will have to be decided not just based on different disciplines, but also different countries, things like that.
Yeah.
More complex.
Yes.
Like us, the notional hours was given to us by MQA. So what? AUN-QX would have to
try
collect and moderate whole thing and come up with a notional hours, the figure which is representative, and takes care of the different countries.
Yeah. And back to the original intention of the AUN-QA actually, because AUN become vehicles to harmonize the higher educations for mobility as well as transferability of our regional higher education. So that, for example, if we are on the same page in terms of learning outcomes, we are more comparable. When we are on the same page in terms of how do we assess students, we are more verifiable because we are using the same mechanism or maybe more or less equivalent mechanism. When it comes to student workload, we are more compatible. We are more transferable so that everyone in the region, when we are on the same page, at least in certain level of, we call it equivalency, that will move the region further. And that makes our program become better and hopefully excellence, because we are moving from one to another higher educations for the sake of competency and responsibility development of our students.
Yeah, if I understand also correctly the context, we're saying that we need to convince also the ministries how we need to have some sort of a harmonized understanding, because whether we like it or we like it, we just have to like it, that our parents in higher education would generally be the ministry of our respective countries, right? The reason, this is exactly the reason why there are multiple rollouts, so that we can make a lot of people aware, and there, if there is better collective awareness and understanding of practice, then it's easier for us to have a better conversation with the different set of countries that we have. So we totally understand the concern as well in terms of regulatory considerations.
Yeah, we have a question from the table. Yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon. In the signing assessment, do you recommend to include students to help in the design of assessment tools, so that we can also address whether this, let's say, the assessment is good enough for particular course?
So you
or
mean
activity?
that get feedback from the students?
Can we include them in to be part of those people who will design the student.
Got it?
Can we get
Yeah,
their
yeah.
can we get their also their perspective
In the
on-
design of the
yes,
assessment.
so that we can also tailor fit
Yeah.
to the student?
So I think it would be better to consider it two ways: design as well as in the assessment itself.
Yeah.
In Kaluheya, we were taught about the voices of assessment. Do you still remember the voices of assessment?
Yeah.
One of the main drawbacks in the development of authentic assessment is that most of the time it becomes less authentic because there's only the teacher's voice. Meaning to say, the voice in terms of the design and the voice in terms of using the rubric and developing the rubric, it's the teacher's voice. So you are absolutely correct. If you could include multiple stakeholders in designing program level authentic assessment, that would be a lot better compared to only using a single voice. We call it voices of authentic assessment.
Thank you.
And we get also from industry, from the employers, about their voices when it comes to the redesigning. All right, so people are coming, so maybe let's me conclude everything.
Yes.
All right, so wait.
So Dr. Saiful will give the final thoughts of AUN-QX.
Wait, because more people are coming. Okay, now, that a three take-home message is basically when it comes to KSR learning outcomes, is about meaningful learning outcomes that relevant to their future roles and responsibilities. That's it. All right? And then in terms of authentic, it's about the real life situations, tasks we give to the student, and we judge based on that. And last but not least, in terms of the student workload, it's about hours spent either with teacher or work independently without teacher for attaining learning outcomes. All right, so these are key take-home message from us. Thank you so much for listening and for your active participation.
Thank you very much for your
And look
participation.
forward to see more people in AUN-QX training in March. Thank you.
Center is one of the oldest and largest language centers in Malaysia. We are internationally renowned for being one of the best language centers in the world. Personally, I've been studying in Arakan ever since I was 6 years old. Now, we teach students ranging from the beginner level to the expert level. Here at Arakan Language Center, we offer the highest quality of English language education that you will ever receive in Southeast Asia. Now, we're one of the best of the best, and if you want your child to speak like this,
Eddie, change in these pajamas and ran downstairs. Does anyone here not use technology every day?
Was the love of my life, my soulmate.
My daughter was too hardworking. A long time ago in China, a young man dreamt of being a sword master.
Mention the catchphrase learning English and what comes to mind?
Sorry, that's cliche. Let me rephrase.
now we know that every student is different. That's why we treat every student as an individual. With our team of incredible and passionate English teachers and our world-class English program, we make sure that all of our students achieves a high level of English proficiency. Here at Arakan, we deliver. So dear parents, if you want your children to speak English confidently and fluently, come and join an Arakan Language Center near you. See you there.
Hello and welcome to Arakan. Please come inside, let's have a look around. This is our reception area where you will be welcomed by our professional counselors that speak English and Mandarin fluently. This is the area where the students can have a rest in a calming atmosphere. Next we have our administration office. This is where parents and students alike can meet with our professional administration team for any questions or problems that they might have. Our IT lab, also known as the language lab, is where students get together to practice their English comprehensive skills, including and especially listening. This is the place where the students can come practice so that they can get used to English and using it in everyday reality. This is our conference room, a versatile space for meetings, conferences, presentations, and just general getting together and working through our language skills. You can use this space for communication, collaborating with your peers, and speaking to the teachers. Come inside, let's have a look, but shh. Let's take a look at our classrooms. Currently in one of the classrooms, there are students busy taking an assessment test. They are doing reading, listening, speaking, and writing. And with this information, we'll be able to assess them and decide in which classes they should be while they are currently studying English language here at Arakan. We also have our principal's office here. Let me introduce you to him. His name is Mr. Douglas.
Hello and welcome. My name is Douglas Lark and I am the principal of Arakan Language Center, KLC Center. I'm in charge of the many fantastic and wonderful teachers who will be aiding you along your journey and your time with us. I'm excited to have you all here and I look forward to watching you as you improve academically and your language pursuit. So welcome.
let's take a look at our classrooms that we currently have on campus. As you'll see if you look in the classrooms, our classes are fully catered to help the students practice their language skills. If you look at our classes, you'll see that we are multiracial, which is fantastic for students because not just are you learning different cultures from China, Saudi Arabia, India, and all these other great places, but you're meeting new people everywhere. Take a look at this side. These are all our adult students, and if you take a look this side, we have kids students. We have facilities for both children and adults alike. The teachers also love doing group activities, and this is where you see a lot of students get student time instead of teacher time. On a typical day here at Erican Language Center, you would have your lunch breaks, and this is where our students get together, eat their lunch, and practice their language skills. You are more than welcome to use all the extra facilities that we have here at Erican Language Center, like the fridge, microwave, and water dispenser. Here is a special office area for Erican Language Center, located right here at Megan Avenue 2 in the heart of Kuala Lumpur. In this area, we welcome students from all over the world as they first arrive at Erican. Here, they will take part in social gatherings and special activities. Meet our amazing counselors who will help you get settled for your studies at Erican. This is our multi-purpose hall where students get together for competitions and parties. Erican Language Center is an authorized Cambridge examination center. We host all kinds of different Cambridge exams, starting from starters, movers, flyers, kits, pets, FCE, and CAE. Erican Language Center is situated in the heart of KL, a 5-minute walk to and from the Petronas Towers. We are looking forward to meeting you at Erican Language Center. Please come along. Erican, yes you can.
Learning English isn't just about exams. It starts with something small. A first hello. It's when students begin to express how they feel. When they speak up and someone listens. When language learning becomes more than practice. And students begin to imagine what's possible. When students can be themselves in English. From first hellos to confident conversations. Shape futures with Pearson English Journey. Powered by the global scale of English.
Welcome to Erican, Malaysia's #1 brand in English education and training. Now, let me show you around. Here at the Language Lab, students get to use modern technology to help them to improve their English skills. Let's take a look at the library. Students from all corners of the world come together here at Erican to study English. And, above all, create long-lasting memories that will last for a lifetime.
Assalamu alaikum. After joining Erican, I have met friends from different countries. I think it's one of the reasons why my English has improved so fast.
To technology. The development of technology will bring the revolutions to the economy infrastructure.
Do you want to improve your English? Come join an Erican center near you. See you there.
We are born to learn. From our very first breath, we never stopped learning. It's our nature, our instinct to expand, to explore. Learning is more than just gaining knowledge. It's an action that starts a reaction, rippling through our lives, changing more than we realize. Proven to enrich our minds, enhance our health, revitalize our emotions, open doors, strengthen relationships, inspire purpose. Learning is vital to every aspect of our lives. To learn is to be truly alive.
Hi, welcome to Erican. Erican Language Center is one of the oldest and largest language centers in Malaysia. We are internationally renowned for being one of the best language centers in the world. Personally, I've been studying in Erican ever since I was 6 years old. Now, we teach students ranging from the beginner level to the expert level. Here at Erican Language Center, we offer the highest quality of English language education that you will ever receive in Southeast Asia. Now, we're one of the best, and if you want your child to speak like this,
Eddie, change into his pajamas and ran downstairs. Does anyone here not use technology every day?
Was the love of my life, my soulmate.
My daughter was too hardworking. A long time ago in China, a young man dreamt of being a sword master.
Mention the catchphrase learning English and what comes to mind?
Sorry, that's cliche. Let me rephrase.
now we know that every student is different. That's why we treat every student as an individual. With our team of incredible and passionate English teachers and our world-class English program, we make sure that all of our students achieves a high level of English proficiency. Here at Erican, we deliver. So dear parents, if you want your children to speak English confidently and fluently, come and join an Erican Language Center near you. See you there.
What does it take to be confident in English? For your voice to be heard, for you to truly be yourself. It can be a journey of ups and downs. It's overcoming inner doubts. It's having fun along the way. It's showing strength and persevering. It's where you discover what you're really capable of. It's having the courage to speak up without letting the pressure get the better of you. Then the moment comes when effort turns to effortless. You are able to enjoy the achievement of all your hard work. The words flow with ease, your pronunciation is natural, your personality and strength shine through. You are confident, empowered. You've expanded your horizons. You are part of your new community. We believe everyone should have the chance to be themselves in English, to have a future brimming with opportunity, a future they have earned, a future they can own. Because when you can be yourself, you can do anything. Be yourself in English.
Hello and welcome to Erican. Please come inside, let's have a look around. This is our reception area where you will be welcomed by our professional counselors that speak English and Mandarin fluently. This is the area where the students can have a rest in a calming atmosphere. Next, we have our administration office. This is where parents and students alike can meet with our professional administration team for any questions or problems that they might have. Our IT lab, also known as the language lab, is where students get together to practice their English comprehensive skills, including and especially listening. This is the place where the students can come, practice so that they can get used to English and using it in everyday reality. This is our conference room, a versatile space for meetings, conferences, presentations, and just general getting together and working through our language skills. You can use this space for communication, collaborating with your peers, and speaking to the teachers. Come inside, let's have a look, but shh. Let's take a look at our classrooms. Currently in one of the classrooms, there are students busy taking an assessment test. They are doing reading, listening, speaking, and writing. And with this information, we'll be able to assess them and decide in which classes they should be while they are currently studying English language here at Erican. We also have our principal's office here. Let me introduce you to him. His name is Mr. Douglas.
Hello and welcome. My name is Douglas Lark and I am the principal of Erican Language Center, KLC Center. I'm in charge of the many fantastic and wonderful teachers who will be aiding you along your journey and your time with us. I'm excited to have you all here, and I look forward to watching you as you improve academically and your language pursuit. So welcome.
Let's take a look at our classrooms that we currently have on campus. As you'll see if you look in the classrooms, our classes are fully catered to help the students practice their language skills. If you look at our classes, you'll see that we are multiracial, which is fantastic for students because not just are you learning different cultures from China, Saudi Arabia, India, and all these other great places, but you're meeting new people everywhere. Take a look at this side. These are all our adult students, and if you take a look this side, we have kids students. We have facilities for both children and adults alike. The teachers also love doing group activities. And this is where you see a lot of students get student time instead of teacher time. On a typical day here at Erican Language Center, you would have your lunch breaks, and this is where our students get together, eat their lunch, and practice their language skills. You are more than welcome to use all the extra facilities that we have here at Erican Language Center, like the fridge, microwave, and water dispenser. Here is a special office area for Erican Language Center, located right here at Megan Avenue 2 in the heart of Kuala Lumpur. In this area, we welcome students from all over the world as they first arrive at Erican. Here, they will take part in social gatherings and special activities. Meet our amazing counselors who will help you get settled for your studies at Erican. This is our multi-purpose hall where students get together for competitions and parties. Erican Language Center is an authorized Cambridge examination center. We host all kinds of different Cambridge exams, starting from starters, movers, flyers, kits, pets, FCE, and CAE. Erican Language Center is situated in the heart of KL, a 5-minute walk to and from the Petronas Towers. We are looking forward to meeting you at Erican Language Center. Please come along. Erican, yes you can.
It's a big world, full of even bigger opportunities. New studies, careers, life-changing adventures, that learning to speak English can bring within reach. For the Pearson Test of English, we believe in giving every single person an equal chance to succeed. With the stakes for language test success this high, so is the incentive for some to gain an unfair advantage. Fraud has been around since language testing began, and to this day, it remains a real and constant challenge. It's why security plays a crucial role in making PTE language testing fairer. That's why we strive every day to create the fairest language testing experience and a level playing field for all. PTE is 100% computer-based, which eliminates the risk of test paper theft and forgery. Randomized question banks and encrypting tests until the moment the test is taken further bolster our defenses. State-of-the-art biometric authentication, CCTV, and deploying undercover test takers are making our Pearson test centers more secure than ever. And our sophisticated algorithms see the unseeable, flagging anomalies to our language experts to act immediately. In the rare event fraud is encountered, FBI-inspired techniques allow us to maintain a fairer testing experience and clamp down on those attempting to gain an unfair advantage. You can be confident that Pearson puts security at the heart of everything we do, safeguarding not only every single PTE test taken, but every person's opportunity to succeed. And by reflecting their true ability, giving them the fairest chance to live the life they've dreamed of. Pearson Test of English, security at the heart of everything we do.
Welcome to Erican, Malaysia's #1 brand in English education and training. Now, let me show you around. Here at the Language Lab, students get to use modern technology to help them to improve their English skills. Let's take a look at the library. Students from all corners of the world come together here at Erican to study English. And, above all, create long-lasting memories that will last for a lifetime.
Assalamu alaikum. After joining Erican, I have met friends from different countries. I think it's one of the reasons why my English has improved so fast.
Technology. The development of technology will bring the revolutions to the economy in structure.
Do you want to improve your English? Come join an Erican center near you. See you there.
Language tests are only meaningful if they're a fair, accurate reflection of a person's English language proficiency. That's why we created Pearson Test of English. We develop our questions based on real-life scenarios, the way English language skills are used in professional and academic situations. Then thousands of our test takers put that test to the test. We trial new questions with real-life test takers, and each response is marked by 2 to 3 expert human examiners. We then scale that expertise using the latest machine learning technology. Our proprietary scoring technology analyzes the feedback from our human experts to learn what makes a good score. Our automated scoring system was initially built using over 50,000 written responses and almost 500,000 spoken responses. These responses represented over 100 different first languages and accents. We're continually building on this system, incorporating new data from our test takers around the world. This means that our automated scoring system doesn't care about where our test takers are from or what they look like. It won't judge them on their accent, their clothes, their gender, or their skin color. It only focuses on consistently and accurately assessing their English. So rather than important results hinging on the opinion of only one person, our scoring system is a combined wisdom of our highly trained team of expert examiners, applied in the exact same way to every single test taker. Now, automated scoring doesn't make bias impossible. but it does provide significantly more safeguards and tools for detecting and addressing bias than assessments that rely on human scoring alone. It allows us to 2 days. And just like our test takers, we keep learning. We're continuously monitoring our scoring data and refining our technology. The result is world-class reliability and accuracy. We do all of this to ensure that governments and institutions can trust PTE to deliver test takers whose scores accurately reflect their real-world English language skills.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. I'm happy to see everybody is more energetic and now inspired from new knowledge we get from the breakout session. Now let us proceed to our next session, which is panel discussion from breakout speakers. To moderate the session, I would like to call our moderators up the stage. But before I'll do that, I'd like to make one announcement in relation to our coffee break. So there is slight change of coffee break if you refer to your program table. Now, coffee break will be served after this session. And it will not be served in the hall, but instead it will be served in the marquee tent outside of the hall. Okay? All right. Okay, let's proceed. May I invite our distinguished moderators to the stage. Please welcome Professor Dr. Wayana C. Patalinghak, Special Advisor to AUN Executive Director on Quality Assurance, to the stage, and Professor Dr. Wan Ahmad Kamil, AUN-QA Trainer. Please welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. I know that you have come from different parallel sessions, and this session is hopefully for everyone to be able to experience part of the discussions in the other parallel sessions. So this afternoon, for this session, we would like to invite our speakers to give a summary, a very brief summary of what transpired in the sessions, so that all of us could have a taste of what happened this afternoon. So may I call on the stage the speaker for the parallel session on AUN qualifications excellence, Professor Dr. Richard Hugar. He is from the University of San Carlos. He was joined in the session by Professor Dr. Muhammad Saiful Bari bin Yusuf of Universiti Putra Malaysia, but he has another commitment this afternoon. So Professor Hugar will give us a brief summary of the presentation. May I also invite our distinguished guests and speakers for the session on micro-credentials. Professor Anka Grier from the British Accreditation Council. And also Dr. Michael Milligan from ABET. And for the third parallel session on digitalize your quality assurance, may I invite on stage Associate Professor Dr. Prawinya Suwanatachot, and I'm from Chulalongkorn University. And also Dr. Elsa Hanifa from University of Malaya. On screen will also be flashed a QR code. So if you have questions, please send your questions and we will have a Q&A session right after the brief summaries. So who would like to start? Maybe Dr. Hugar. So we are given about 7 minutes and probably we can finish in about 45 minutes for everyone. Thank you.
Hello? Oh, okay, it's working. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, for those of us who are not here this afternoon for our session, so the Qualification Excellence, or AUN-QX, is actually a product of 2 Erasmus grants from 2016 to 2024. So the first one is the TASE project. It's Tuning Asia Southeast. So the focus of that project is actually the adoption or the usage of the Bologna tools as applied to the ASEAN context in 3 very specific disciplines, civil engineering, medicine, and teacher education. And the main output of that is the meta profile of these different degrees, as well as the determination of the specific, program-specific and generic competencies in Southeast Asia. We followed it through with the Kalohea project. Kalohea stands for measuring and comparing the the attainment of learning outcomes in higher education in Asia. So it's quite pretty long. And the main focus of the Kalohea project is essentially on 3 recognition mechanisms. These 3 recognition mechanisms include, the first one is the reference framework for still the same disciplines. And the second one is adoption of authentic assessment, internationally comparable authentic assessment, and the installation of the measurement of student workload. So during the workshop this afternoon, for those of us who were in this hall, we gave them an input on the importance of going beyond knowledge and skills in the development of program outcomes to include responsibility level outcomes. And the second one is we talked about how to ensure that these responsibility level based outcomes are authentically assessed. So we have a bit of a survey as to how familiar are they with authentic assessment. We gave them exemplars as to how to increase the level of authenticity of the design authentic assessment. And the third part is we talked about student workload, the importance of understanding its role in internationalization, as well as the mechanisms on how to optimize and make sure that enough life is left to our students and our teachers as they progress towards the completion of their degrees. So overall, these are the 3 foci when we talk about AUN-QX. And there is another session that will be organized by AUN this coming March. I think the end of March, towards the first week of April. So hopefully a lot of us have learned something from that very short exchange, and we look forward to seeing them should they decide to join in March. Thank you very much.
My turn, I guess. Thank you very much. I think when we had those 3 options presented, you're always sitting there as a speaker and thinking, oh, I'd like to be in another session, not the one that I'm doing. But we did, Michael and myself, we co-led on the micro-credentials session. And really what we started off from was the fact that I think everyone in the room would be in agreement that micro-credentials have very strong potential. But, and there's always a but, that potential comes with a lot of responsibility placed on various stakeholders that have key roles to play in the way that we design, well, no, first in the way that we define, design, develop, and then quality assure micro-credentials. So there were 2 perspectives. I presented the European side. Michael presented the what they do in Abbott in the United States. And we found, although we hadn't discussed this in advance, that actually the key components and characteristics that revolve around micro-credentials are the ones that we had both pinpointed for quality assurance. And what is important to remember here is that it doesn't really matter whether we are currently in an institution or in a quality assurance agency or wear both hats. That's not the distinction that we want to make, but actually both sides, if they are sides of the same coin, need to work in the same direction, on the same principle, and on the same characteristics. And in many instances, of course, we know that internal quality assurance will have what it takes and has already confidently demonstrated that it can handle new forms of education, like micro-credentials. It really just needs to recognize its unique characteristics. And because we're talking characteristics, maybe it's worth highlighting what those are, to say that we're looking at educational units which should be agile. Agile meaning we can develop them quickly, but we can also close them off quickly. And this will depend on the relevance, it will depend on the interest that our learners, students might have. And that agility needs to be translated into the quality assurance principles. And usually what that means is that we may need to intensify ongoing quality assurance as opposed to annual or periodic mechanisms for credentials, for programs, for courses, which may not actually last 1 year if that is the situation. But we have to acknowledge and accept that that can be the situation, and sometimes that is the ideal situation to be in, and we need to put forward those mechanisms. We ran one single poll, we had prepared two, but we ran one to ask colleagues in the room what they thought was easy to demonstrate in terms of a number of indicators and standards that we referred to. And it seemed like the easiest would be to create and put forward a policy for closure with specific triggers. So that was on the easy side of things, whereas not so easy seemed to be the fact that we want to retain in quality assurance mechanisms the measure between what is agile and what can be recognized. And that's a very fine line because recognition is a longer term principle, whereas agility, of course, is short term. And we also discussed the fact that there are institutions, and I will put my hand up and say in Europe, definitely there are these institutions which believe that just breaking up a qualification into smaller units will create micro-credentials, whereas very many quality assurance agencies, including the ones that we represent, are saying that is not the way to go about developing a micro-credential. So I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you very much, and pass on to see whether Michael has anything to add.
Thank you, Anka. And as Anka had mentioned, we were very complimentary actually in our presentations. But one thing that was interesting to me is, you know, ABET as a quality assurance organization has been in existence for 95 years, primarily using formal accreditation as the tool to ensure quality, and credentials, micro-credentials is an entirely different sort of animal, if you will. And so we need to approach it with fresh eyes. And I think we've tried to do that. It's been difficult at times because we fall back on what we know. And what we know is accreditation informally, but that can't really be applied to the micro-credential area just because you don't have, you know, they're shorter in duration. They don't have the same amount of opportunities for assessment for student learning and so forth. So it continues to be an evolving sort of landscape, but I think clearly the future, because we're all about lifelong learning, and micro-credentials will probably span more years in one's life, certainly, than a traditional undergraduate program would do. So we're happy to be part of it, and we felt it was a very exciting session, the best session. Maybe not.
Our session is about digitalize your quality assurance. So for us, Dr. Alpha and I present the platform that we built in our work. For me, I and my colleague and I, we developed the platform that try to encourage the instructors to understand deep learning design in the quality assurance, in the OBE. So the step by step that we train the teacher inside of the platform back to the framework from the OBE, backward design, and how you use the constructive alignment. This is a core idea or foundation of the platform. And for Dr. Elfa is built up because she is director of the QA of the University of Malaya. She's take care of the platform that QA assessment, right? And use the senior project, right? The senior project to build up the platform. But however, when deployment, you have to take care about the security a lot. She works closely with the IT security platform, team. And also the third one, Mr. Ang, he is a director of the NUS IT security. So he add up more and gain awareness in our room about the IT security. If you got the many data of the QA assessment, but you lose the data and security, or we leak out, and then this is what the policymaker or administrator have to set it up as a priority, even though the IT security is kind of high salary, right, to take care of it. But this is very important to do it and plan before about the IT security, infrastructure, or peopleware or things. Yeah, this is from our session. You want to add up?
Yeah, and essentially also I think I also highlighted about the fact that using students actually opens up a lot of opportunities, not just for the students. It gives students the experience to develop something, and potentially also develop something very quickly and very current. And one of the things that I highlighted was the use of open source rather than licensed platforms to develop the digital tools for QA assessment.
Okay. So you can see we all had three very interesting parallel sessions, and it's a pity that we only had to go to one. So there were a lot of questions afterwards in our session, and I'm sure in the other sessions as well. And so I'd like to encourage you to participate in our Q&A, and Dr. Wanamad is going to facilitate the Q&A.
Yes, thank you, Wayunat. We have already a number of questions here. The first question is for Dr. Joga. How is the student workload computation can be made part of the full-time equivalency or FTE as part of the SAR in the AUN-QA program assessment?
All right, so in the AUN-QA different parts where we assess, there's actually a mention there of student workload. And AUN-QA assesses generally if that mechanism is present in the institution and how the institution does it. So in the future, if there is enough impetus for us and there's a good understanding in the ASEAN countries across different institutions as to what exactly is student workload, and if we get to standardize to some extent, well, harmonize I think is a better term, if we get to harmonize to some extent and establish a relatively robust equivalency, just like ECTS, for example, or the Crédito Latinoamericana Referencia, it's the Latin American credit system, for instance, then it would be a good addition as to how we look at quality assurance in general, because student workload is a part and parcel of ensuring both equity and quality in terms of instruction, development, and delivery. So it's quite difficult if we base it solely on the description of the outcomes, as well as on how the outcomes are assessed, which are the first two recognition mechanism. Without workload, it's very difficult to sort of create an equivalency system so that we would know the number of hours that students actually spend in completing the requirements. Basically, most systems in the world are established based on student workload as one of the key recognition mechanisms. So hopefully in the future, if we get to have a good harmonized understanding and practice, it could be very well embedded within the QA sets of criteria, so that everybody has a good grasp and understanding as to how it could be done, how it is assessed, and how it could help make instruction better and optimized. As again, the goal is for the students to have a good life, and for the teachers also to have a good and balanced life in the attainment of the outcome. Attain the outcome without bloating student workload. That's really the goal that we want to have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just to add something from a micro-credential perspective, because we can. Indeed, in the European system, because we have the ECTS, so the credits, credits are really a marker of workload. There's nothing else behind the credits. But what they do is they allow others to understand what students might have achieved in a particular program. And from a micro-credentials point of view, this becomes particularly relevant because it will support the stackability aims for micro-credentials. So if we say, eventually, we want to get to a point where multiple micro-credentials can form a full degree, which may or may not have been delivered within the same institution, but across institutions or even across national contexts, then we truly need a currency that will allow us to understand workload and credit. So there is a lot to be said in terms of the benefit that this particular endeavor could bring, especially if we are moving into more flexible means of working. So I just kind of wanted to add that on. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you. I think there's also a follow-up question here from another participant. Could you raise the example, or could you tell an example of a main impact which, when giving extra student workload, or any study on that done? I mean, in terms of measuring, I guess.
All right. So, sorry, it has to be me again. All right. In the project where we did last time, we have actually a set of tools. These tools are public. You can actually access it. You can go to kalohea.org. That's the website that we developed so that these things are accessible. So examples of the tools that we used is the end of semester questionnaire. These are sets of questionnaires that we deploy to academics and students so that we can estimate how much they do things per semester, to understand if it's reasonable or not reasonable, if it's too much or too little. Another one is we have this, what we call as student journals, where we deploy it to select classes. And then every time the teacher asks students to do something, they will write how much time they spend on it to prepare and so on and so forth. So these are just but examples. In the uni and in some other unis where these tools have been deployed, one of the key things that was really helpful to us is we were able to identify courses that are super overly loading. Whether you like it or you like it, you just have to like it, that we enjoy very high academic freedom in terms of how we design our courses. And sometimes the teacher's intent is very nice and very noble. He or she would like to cover as much as possible the materials of the course, but ends up giving too many assignments, too many requirements, which are not at all feasible within the time frame given. So that's one advantage. The other set is we are able to determine which courses are severely underloading. They are the really nice teachers who get to give very little assignments. And these assignments, homeworks, or out of class activities are no longer commensurate to the credits assigned to the course. So these are the two benefits, the first two benefits of student workload measurement. The other one is because we optimized academic workload, students would now have more time in enjoying your peripheral support. You cannot expect students to enjoy running around the campus, availing of your very nice swimming pools, participating in your linguistics or arts or choir practice, because they have so much to do in academics. So the moment we optimize workload to reflect actual credit, it has actually a consequential effect that students can now avail of other services that we ask them to avail, but they can't in the first place because they have so much stuff to do. These are just but examples of the things that we have observed for those who have adopted workload-based curriculum planning and implementation. And hopefully you guys get to try it too. www.kalohea.org. That's the website.
Thank you. Can I just add a question that was perhaps asked before? This is with regards to when we're talking about student load. And any time that you want to make sure that the assessment of the student load, or be it for that matter, PLOs and so forth, there is an intrinsic additional workload on the lecturers themselves. I understand that you mentioned this something so that everybody can have a good time by doing this, good life rather. But is there any extra thoughts that you put into when you're designing this to make sure that not only the workload of the students are verified and justified, but that does not mean more workload for the lecturers? Is that taken into consideration?
Oh, those are just always, every time I go to unis and talk about workload, that's always what they ask on the teacher side of things. If we want to regulate student workload so that we increase well-being, we don't bloat workload in terms of outcome attainment, what about the teachers? The thing is, the teacher is a bit very complex in terms of both policy and regulation. On the part of the teacher, it is not solely governed by the academic nature of the undertaking of teaching and learning. Different ministries, different Department of Labor entities in each country would have a very different way of calculating workload in terms of how many credits to teach per semester, what constitutes tenureship, what constitutes regular loading, and so on and so forth. This has not, there are some published literature on this one, but this has not been within the scope of the project, so I am unable to say so. But these are legitimate questions.
No, I think more importantly here is the issue about trying to make, it's nothing to do with the policies, not that, but it's about the absolute number of the hours that the lecturers have to do, have to add on to make sure that the workload of the students are properly
optimized.
So I'm not talking about how many 60%, whatever percent. I'm talking about, does any of your attempts here also take into consideration such that the lecturers does not have to spend another 15 hours to make sure that the students' workload is commensurate?
Oh, commensurate.
Yes.
Right.
So,
The general trend, what happens generally is that teachers tend to give more than to give less, generally speaking. So what happens is we have not had a good encounter as to how to actually make sure that the teachers' load are optimized. Because if they do follow the workload allocation, strictly speaking, the tendency is actually to lessen the number of requirements. That's the general trend that we have observed, and not more. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, please.
Thank you. Jumping in again, thank you for the opportunity. Just to say, this is a very important topic, and I think as teachers, or those of us that are teachers in the room, every teacher, every academic is very committed to what they're doing. I think we have to recognize that. On the other hand, of course, the question really is about the fact that you take on and take on and take on and take on and never actually say, where does this add? What does it add to? And I just wanted to share with you all that in the European context, quality assurance processes are now increasingly looking at what do institutions do to balance workload. So if we're saying 15 hours are added because you have to look exactly at what happens with the student workload, then an external quality assurance agency is expecting the institution to demonstrate how those 15 hours are taken away from something else. So that overall, there is a balance, and overall, while we are committed to the student having a work-life balance, I think we have to also appreciate that that has to hold true for the teacher as well. And if that is the case, another thing that we have been actively looking into with agencies is how do we build into workload developmental models? Because very many institutions do nothing else but say, my teacher teaches 16 hours a week, that's okay. And then when you ask, okay, but how do you quantify everything else? Of course, everything else quantifiable is administrative work, research work, standard things. But then when you look at the development, the fact that teachers do training, do capacity building, connect online with others, go to conferences, and so on and so forth, there's no quantification of that. And that is frequently on top of everything else, which really just creates an imbalance in work-life arrangements for teachers. So I think it's a very pertinent topic, and I just wanted to say that it's not just the side of clear hours that we can count, but also other types of activities, including development, which ultimately is a personal gain, but also an institutional gain, and that's important to remember.
Yeah, not everything can be counted, right? Thank you. Another issue here, but still is with regards to the similar topic, but it's more for the AUN-QA kind of question. AUN-QA covers assessments, evaluate PLOs, workload, teaching and learning. Credit transfer can also be a motivation. May we please get clarified as to how AUN-QEX is seen as versus AUN-QA? I'm not sure I understand the question, but I read it as written. You think well, but short answer, please.
Okay, we will try to understand. So it would appear that there's some sort of an overlap between AUN-QA and AUN-QX. That's the shortest I could understand it.
Okay.
So how are they different? Yeah, all right. So AUN-QX is as what those who have been here in this complex, in this venue attested, we are very focused on the recognition mechanisms, which is the KSR, which is authentic assessment, and which is student workload measurement. So AUN-QA has these two, but they are embedded within a system. So what happens is for AUN-QX, these three, if done properly and has been harmonized across regions and institution, transferability, portability, compatibility, and verifiability of degrees is a lot easier. So the CCTV that Saiful was talking about, comparability, compatibility, transferability, and verifiability. would have very solid basis if we do have AUN-QX. This is
Yeah,
shortest one I could give.
I guess so. I'm not the one who's asking the question. Thank you very much. Perhaps you can look at micro-credential here, the next question. Should the expiry date on the micro-credential course be removed? If it's removed, to sell well beyond that date, or should demand dictates its expiration? I think about expiration lifetime or something like that. Thank you.
They're all on. Okay. Well, yeah, I'll have a go at that one. So the expiry date, it's one of the things that really makes credentials, micro credentials, much different than traditional education is the rapid pace at which the content and really delivery itself, I suppose, could change. It's intended that way because the idea is you're providing the latest skills, knowledge, skills, and abilities to learners, skills primarily. And so it makes sense to have some point where, as a quality assurance organization, you have to shorten the amount of time between reviews, I would guess would be the best way to do it. Whether a provider puts an expiry date on there or not, I'm not sure that necessarily matters so much, as long as they're, they have the obligation, I think, to make sure that the content and the topics are relevant and are working towards, making sure that learners are improving their skill set. So I think it's up to us as quality assurance organizations to try to figure out what that is. And I think that also underscores the importance of quality assurance, quite frankly, in the micro-credential space, because if we're not doing that and we're not kind of watching for that, I'm not sure who else is going to do it, I mean, there could be some internal quality assurance process that does that, and that would be great, but I think to provide confidence to everyone who's using micro-credentials, either for themselves or in the hiring practices or funding the education, that, that we want to pay attention to that. And of course,
just to add a point to that, this is, again, important. Micro-credentials, we're saying, are really small bites that eventually will expire. And I think it's difficult in the traditional sense of education for us as academics to look at a program and to say, oops, this no longer has the relevance that we wanted to have. And for us to be able to do that and be prompted to do that, there has to be an internal quality assurance mechanism which actually pushes that particular level of evaluation. And this is why we were discussing about ongoing quality assurance on particular micro-credentials, because if you have external quality assurance being done at institutional level, for example, so not looking at individual programs or individual courses, because that could be very burdensome to the institution, very burdensome to the quality agency, if we're honest, and resources are sometimes quite scarce. What we need to have is confidence in the fact that the internal structures do actually safeguard against expiry. And that safeguard is for nothing else but the exclusive benefit of the student and then of the labor market that graduate will go towards.
Yeah, but the subsequent question rather is about cost effectiveness. How do you balance that vis-a-vis the money that you put in, either to be part of the program or to even start the program, and then the expiry date? Is that been looked at as or already being looked at?
Yeah. So you're right, of course. Micro-credentials are a front-loaded investment, one which we don't know exactly when and how it might need to change. This is part of the risk management approach that any institution needs to take. So when an institution decides it wants to move into micro-credentials, we were discussing the fact that the mission and the vision needs to be aligned with that. And then the risk that is being taken in relation to particular individual micro-credential courses is one which has to be assumed. So it's definitely not an answer to say we're safeguarding against cost effectiveness by prolonging the life of a course which doesn't want to be prolonged. And I know you weren't suggesting that, but just to make that point.
Yeah, because I think for the many times that micro credentials are being advertised or rather promoted, this cost issue was never being thought of. Yeah, I mean, it's just like going to the movies. You know, you spend time, you take a taxi or Grab to go to the movie, not knowing how good is the movie. Such is the case if it's going to the movie, but we're looking at something a little bit more dollar signs there that probably need to be alerted, at least for those who are even trying to go into micro-credentials. Thank you.
It's also a question of funding models, whether the funding is exclusively at institutional level or whether there is more governmental input, national, regional input in terms of the funding. And then you work with cost effectiveness by the fact that it's not your full investment as an institution. And that's also a safeguard for the government or the funder, because then they know that you can stop and will stop when relevancy runs thin.
Okay, I don't have any question with regards, I mean, at least from the audience here with regards to the issue of digitalization and security. It was a very good talk. I was happy to be with them, but just an overall perception from those who are practicing this. Is there such thing as a foolproof security on your data or the system that you build? Is there such a thing?
I think probably the best person to answer this
Yeah,
question is Mr. Ang,
I know where
who's
is
not
he?
here.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that we have security in place all the time, and we need to change passwords and so on, shows that there is no such thing as foolproof. And I think we had a short pocket discussion with Mr. Ang and a few other participants just now, and we were talking about having penetration tests and also ethical hacking sessions to test all the time, because there will always be threats and you won't really know where they're coming from.
That's true. I mean, it's he ended up quite nicely in his discussion, or rather his presentation, saying that you will never know about cyber security. Rather, it's just like COVID or any other thing that happens to other people, and you can hear so many things about it, and you will never know how to do it until you really get it yourself, which is, I think, so true. On that note, perhaps since there is no questions with regards to cybersecurity, anybody else would like to put a last note or a cautionary note to our colleagues here who is thinking about cybersecurity? Or rather, an advice.
Perhaps something that was mentioned in our hall is that it's like having cybersecurity is like having an insurance policy. You need to have it, and if you don't have it, when something hits you, then you're gonna suffer the most.
Yeah, I think on that note, even nobody knows what to cover and how to cover. It's really very, yes, thank you very much. If there's none, I think that's all from our colleague here. Rather, there's no more questions after that, sorry.
I think we are right on time, and we thank our panelists for a very interesting discussion this afternoon. And I'm sure the other delegates would like to, if they have any more questions, they can meet with you during dinner or during our break time. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Wayona C. Patalinghak and Professor Dr. Wan Ahmad Kamil for moderating the session. And huge appreciation also goes to the panelists for the insightful and interesting discussion. In a normal manner that we show our appreciation is through presentation of token of appreciation. For that, I would like to invite to the stage Dr. Raymond Sisson, AUN Council member, to give away the token of appreciation. Please welcome. Okay. The first token, please welcome Professor Dr. Richard R. Jugar. Professor Anka Gray. Dr. Michael K. J. Milligan. Associate Professor Dr. Prawenya Suwanatachot. I hope I get that right. And a very loud of applause to Dr. Elsa Hanifa Meja Muhammad. To present our token of appreciation to our moderator, I'm pleased to invite to the stage Professor Eddie Chong Siong Choi to give the token. Please welcome. Professor Dr. Wayona C. Patalinghak, please. And finally, token from Prof. Eddie to Prof. Dr. Wan Ahmad Kamil. Okay, could please all panelists and also token presenter to remain on stage for a group photo, please. Thank you very much, everyone. Let's give a very loud round of applause to our panelists. Next on our agenda is tea break. Tea break is served in the market tent outside of the hall. And for our much-awaited dinner tonight, it will be conducted in this hall. It will start at 6 p.m. Okay? So I guess we have completed our boost, completed the dose for today. So please, you're welcome to enjoy tea. Thank you.
Before I let everyone off for tea, I would just like to make a promotional announcement for our dinner tonight. Please remember that everyone is invited to dinner, and we would like to have everyone present if possible. We have exciting performances for all of you, and we have good food. We have a lot of local foods, chendol, roja and a lot of very, very nice food waiting for you. So please join us for dinner and have a good time. And we will open the dance floor as well. So it's going to be a very exciting dinner. Please join us, right? So we'll have a short break. Hope to see everyone at 6 p.m.